Hello everyone, Alternating Bit here. Recently I was asked by several people about my modular setup. I haven't done one of these videos in quite a while. A long time ago I did a studio tour type video of my setup back when I was starting to build my empire, and well, it's pretty funny how things change over time. It's that special feeling of putting in your last module in your rack. That sense of completion, having such power and analog awesomeness. This is Alternating Bit. Join me as we take a look at my studio as we examine it piece by piece. Since then, of course, it actually grew even larger. It became this huge, the wall, I called it. Basically, just insane amount of modules and other rack mountable gear. And eventually, things changed, life changed, and I changed, and basically I just broke things down and got rid of a lot of the stuff I didn't really, quote, need. And you learn over time that less is more. People may look at my current system now and think this is, too large, but when most people collect the Euro rack size, it is a smaller footprint in general, and this may look larger than it really is because it is the 5U format. Anyway, so I'm just going to quickly go through each module and explain why I've selected this. The reason why I'm doing this is I have declared that I finally have reached that perfect system. This is really, I've rested on something good and I'm very comfortable, and I feel like everything in here is absolutely essential. So I'm just quickly go through each one and explain why. So here we have on the left two synthesizers.com modules, and they were modified to fit into one slot. These were actually done by Jeremy Sharp. He did this before .com had even done it themselves. So hats off to him. Really cool design, love the look. Two basic analog oscillators, and they have all waveforms, all the basic wave shapes. So these can be used for wave sounds or CV control. And I end up using these more often as LFOs, to be honest, because of my other oscillators. The ring mod adds kind of a metallic sound to things, and you can mix waveforms together in there. The Oakley ring mod has a couple more inputs than the standard .com one does, so it has a little bit more shaping that you can do. The Oakley dual VCA, you can never have enough VCAs is the running joke. Voltage controlled amplifier. Enough said. Club of the Knobs fixed filter bank. You may notice that most filter banks that you may see, fixed filter banks, they're actually wider, probably another whole space wider, and they have more bands. Fixed filter banks are always difficult to justify putting into a system because they take up so much space and you don't use them honestly that much. However, I really wanted to have one in my system. It is just part of that old school sound shaping source so that you can dial in a wide spectrum of analog beauty. Club of the Knobs instrument amplifier. Now, an instrument amplifier is by its nature designed for inputting things that have lower signals compared to modular. However, I actually use this a lot for when signals are just too weak being run through other items, other signal paths. It also works as a clock booster. Sometimes you need a stronger signal for certain clock inputs and such. Use it for that as well. Also has a built-in bass and treble, so it has a built-in filter in itself. Voltage controlled analog delay has a beautiful, unique character to it. It's just the coolest delay module I've ever heard. I had a digital delay one, got rid of it. I used pedals and external effect sources, but this module is still irreplaceable. Ironically, I had sold it and I ended up buying it again. You have to have a sequencer in your system. 16-step MFOS. While this isn't the wide, large Moog one with insane amount of gates and control, it's still, in this amount of space, offers a lot of outputs, and it's in that cool circular layout. Quantizer. It's the dual quantizer from Club of the Knobs. Very important if you want to have musical notes coming out of these CV sources. I used to have a quad quantizer from .com, and I actually had a couple of them, I sold those. I like how this one handles the scales, the chords, and it's more minimalistic layout. Club of the Knobs low pass gate. You have to have, I'm going to say this for everything you have to have. Different from a regular low pass filter, a low pass gate gives you certain punctuated Attributes, very cool filter to have. Pulse Matrix Comparator from STG. Suit and Tie Guy, great modules. And this one is, while it's really, well, it has multiple uses. I use it mostly as the divider. I should have a clock divider, but I don't in this particular system, so I use this a lot as a divider. It also has other features, and you can have sub-octaves of sounds, and sometimes it's nice to have those different divisions fed into a mixer. So that's why I have the mixer right next to it. This is a Moon Modular reversible mixer. And what is, I guess you could say, missing from my system is the STG CP filter, which is the Moog filter that colors the sound, and everybody says it's so important. I never got it, and I would like it, but at the same time, this mixer, these on-off switches are just absolutely essential to me. I really like that feature. I use it so often. The fact that it's reversible also allows you to do interesting things with CV signals and envelopes. So, very cool mixer. Next we have the synthesizers.com standard, well, it's standard but it's modified, envelope generator. I bought it secondhand. Somebody gave it a CV control so that you can actually control like the release with control voltage. Free State Effects Tailpipe Phaser. This is a very pricey module. It was kind of hard to pull the trigger on, but at the same time, having a good phaser is just absolutely, what did I just say? Yep, essential. A real good phaser with CV control, lots of nice features built in. That's the top cabinet. The Macro Digital Oscillator, also known as Braids, from Free State Effects. Just, I mean, chock full of things. Obviously, there's some menu diving, but it has a lot of, it's just a very powerful oscillator. Next to it, we have another oscillator from .com that was downsized to one space. Radio Music from Synthetic Sound Labs. This is just absolutely beautiful. You can load any sound you want to on this small SD card. You can have it start in different locations from the sample. You have multiple samples per bank. You have multiple banks. So you can just load this thing up with any kind of, any sounds you want, and the sound quality is great. The only thing I wish it had was pitch control, but I can, if I really need to pitch something, I can throw it into my granular audio processor. Noise, noise, noise. Gotta have noise, and this is a noise dual filter from Oakley Crisp 1 build, and it has obviously filters, has noise sources, white, pink, and red. Really, really good, and very important to have those sources for me. Free State Effects again. This is the granular audio. Clouds. And clouds is, I mean, there are so many videos out there on what clouds can do. It's just a beast of a module. My favorite filter of all is the STG Sound Labs Mankato filter. I can't say enough great things about this filter. This is like my most important filter, and actually I don't have that. I used to have tons of filters. Now I only have 3 or 4. But anyway, Essential Filter has 3 inputs, which is great. Lots of control inputs as well, and of course all the outputs. Plates, Synthetic Sound Labs Woven Spirits. Just beautiful array of sounds, creamy sounds. I mean, this basically, between this and the Macro Digital Oscillator, I have like so many unique and FM sounds rather than just the standard analog, so it's great to have. VRG. This is, I don't remember, Variable Ramp Generator? I forget what it stands for. Swiss Army module, basically. And it's got LFO. It can be used as an envelope generator, a slope. And it has all kinds of feed. You can slide and glide things. It's just like a very, very versatile CV source. Speaking of envelopes, the ADSR envelope from Synthetic Sound Labs. Also lots of control voltage for the way it behaves. Then we have a Free State Effects dual trigger processor, which is the 5U version of Mutable Instruments Peaks. And this is also loaded with all kinds of things. Even has drum sounds built in, 808. And it's got, it can be used as an envelope generator. Multiple ways to use this thing. LFO, tap tempo, all kinds of things. So, not just regular multiples, but active multiples. I got rid of all my multiples. Active multiples are just, you don't lose your signal path. Nothing gets weakened in the process. They're powered and boosted, so absolutely essential module to have. And very sturdy build from STG. Free State Effects Topographic Drum Sequencer. basically mutable instruments grids, and this is a great rhythmic pattern generator. It has a mapping system built in, and I mean, I like to do percussive things, so this is a great way to have all kinds of cool triggers, also with CV control. And it's intentionally next to these two drum-based modules. This is the Thun drum from Synthetic Sound Labs, which is an analog, kind of like a tom, and I mean has all kinds of tones, beautiful sounding, very analog sounding, beautiful. And here we have the Noise Engineering Basimilus Iteratus Magnus, which is a beast of a module. It's just by itself does so many things, and again also best used for me for percussion, but it also can be used as drones. I've done that as well. Great to have. And here is the dual LFO from Oakley. You can never have too many LFOs, to be honest. Active attenuators from STG. I can't tell you how many times I've fed this LFO into there, because you don't always want to have your LFOs at 100%. So you can use attenuation, you can also use mixers, you can use VCAs, but this is very handy to have. And that's the second cab. Finally, at the bottom of my living space, MIDI to clock. This is from Modular. Incredibly important to interface with external gear. Having a MIDI input also has a MIDI through, and you can divide the clock source. Very, very important module. And this is the STG Sound Labs Trigger Mini Store. I just wanted more gates, more triggers, and this is in 16 steps. So that's really good to have. Next to it is the Hex Inverter RE Synthesis Simple Sequencer. And this is a mini sequencer. It's 8 steps, has CV out and gates. And next to that is an envelope generator, a standard one from .com. Great to have next to these gate sources, of course. Sample and hold should be in every system. It's a very great LFO source to have. This one from Modular has some really cool features that I like. Core Synth has a VC LFO. The main reason why I ended up getting this LFO, as you can see, it's takes up an entire space for a single LFO output. Of course, there's different wave shapes, but this goes insane slow. If you wanted something slow, it has a low, medium, and high speed switch, so you can have, but I forget the amount of minutes that you can have it go through one pass, but it is absolutely slow. Quad VCA from Oakley. Gotta have more VCAs, and this acts as a mixer, of course, mixer and VCA. Reverb from .com, which is more like a spring verb. This is, to me it's more like a sound color module, because it doesn't really sound like reverb, and it's kind of muddy. It's, it's not a clean, and it's not a deep reverb as much as you would think, but it's kind of like a noisy spring verb, and I just think it's beautiful. Here we have an ADSR VCA combo from Oakley, so it has a built-in VCA and envelope. So that's, again, a bread and butter module that you basically need to have. And finally, we have on the right a Mega Ohm Audio VCF filter. It's a high-pass, low-pass filter, loosely based off of the Korg MS-20, which is one of my favorite analog synthesizers, so it's really cool to have that filter system in here. And that's the final cab. The reason why I feel this is like the ultimate setup is it has that perfect balance that meets my needs. Everybody's needs are different, and it also takes time for you to figure out what your fingerprint is and how you like to use your modules and what you need them for. I feel that my system has a great balance of newer sounding modules beyond traditional analog, yet at the same time embraces analog, making it a perfect hybrid. I should also note that in addition to this setup, I have a separate MOTM format portable. I've kept this, I used to have a larger MOTM setup, but I whittled it down to this one cabinet that has my trusted first MFOS 16-step sequencer built by Free State Effects, and this is, like a tank. The metal is just incredible. You can pack more modules in a more confined space because MOTM is not as wide as the .com 5U size. Everyone's modular journey is at a different place. For those just starting out, this may have been helpful to you, and I hope it was. For those that have seen my other videos, I apologize for any repetition. To those in between, good luck on your journey ahead. This is Alternating Bit. Thanks for watching.